Hey, Shalom Israel, Most High in Christ, bless, Most High in Christ, bless. Welcome to Tune In Tuesdays. I'm Officer Daniel, and today's class is called Are You Sacrificing from Then Till Now? Are you sacrificing from then till now? All right, so we're going to get into it. We got a lot of scriptures. We're going to start off in the book of Genesis. All right, we're going to start off in the beginning. Go to Genesis chapter 4, and we're going to read verse 1. Going to get a little bit of history for all those that are new. Watch this. Read that. Genesis chapter 4, and we're going to start off at verse 1. If somebody can get him a mic.
Genesis chapter 4 and verse 1.
Perfect.
And Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in process of time it came to pass.
In the process of time, meaning they got older. Go ahead.
That Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord.
So Cain brought God an offering, right? This is why, because a lot of times Christian church will say that in the beginning in Genesis there was no law. They will start off with Moses. They'll say, "Oh, the law of Moses," right? But give me that in Baruch chapter 4 and read verse 4. Baruch, the 4th chapter and the 4th verse. Read that.
Baruch chapter 4 and verse 4.
Go ahead.
O Israel, happy are we, for things that are pleasing to God are made.
The book of Baruch, the 4th chapter. Oh, read verse 1, sorry.
Verse 1. This is the book of the commandments of God.
Go ahead.
And the law that endureth forever.
How long does the law endure?
Forever.
There you go. So God says that the law is forever. So go back to Genesis 4. Genesis chapter 4, read verse 3 again.
Genesis chapter 4 and verse 3.
Go ahead.
And in process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord.
An offering unto the Lord. Give me 2nd Ezra. I'm going to get another one. 2nd Ezra chapter 3, read verse 5. This is another one for you. Just in case if you don't understand, why was Cain bringing an offering to the Lord? 2nd Ezra chapter 5 and read verse 8.
2nd Ezra chapter 5 and chapter 3 and verse 5. And gave us
5. Thank you.
And gavest a body unto Adam without soul, which was the workmanship of thine hands.
Go ahead.
And didst breathe into him the breath of life, and he was made living before thee. And thou leddest him into paradise, which thy right hand had planted before ever the earth came forward.
So God gave Adam the breath of life, which is his law, his commandment. And Adam gave it to his children, just like that law that endured forever. So when you go back to Genesis 4 and you read verse 3, and it says, and Cain gave an offering because that was the law that he gained, the understanding he gained from his father. Read verse 4, back in Genesis 4.
Genesis chapter 4 and verse 4. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering.
So God says Abel brought the firstling of his flock. Why? Give me Nehemiah chapter 10 and read verse 36. Nehemiah 10 and read verse 36.
Nehemiah chapter 10 and verse 36. Also the firstborn of our sons and of our cattle, as it is written in the law, and the firstlings of our herds and of our flocks, to bring to the house of our God, unto the priests that minister in the house of our God.
I just wanted verse 36. It says, also the firstborn of our sons and of our cattle, as it is written in the law. Written in the law where? Exodus 13. This is where that it says it was written in the law. This is why God wants the firstborn of the cattle. Exodus the 13th chapter and read verse 1.
Exodus chapter 13 and verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever openeth the womb among the children of Israel.
Jump down to, so God says, sanctify the firstborn. This is the reason. Jump down to read verse 13.
Verse 13. And
hold on. Read verse 11.
Verse 11. And it shall be when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, as he sware unto thee and to thy fathers, and shall give it thee.
Go ahead.
That thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all that openeth the matrix, and every firstling that cometh of a beast.
So God says to set apart the firstborn that comes from the beast. Go ahead.
Which thou hast. The male shall be the Lord's.
And God said he wants the males. Go ahead.
And every firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb. And if thou wilt not redeem it, then thou shalt break his neck.
Take it back. God says if you're not going to take it back, you break its neck. Go ahead.
And all the firstborn of man among thy children shalt thou redeem. And it shall be when thy son asketh thee in time to come, saying, what is this? That thou shalt...
Hold on. It says, if thy son asks thee, why does the Lord want the firstborn? Go ahead.
That thou shalt say unto him, by strength of hand, the Lord brought us out from Egypt, from the house of bondage. And it came to pass when Pharaoh would hardly let us go, that the Lord slew all the firstborn in the land of Egypt.
What did the Lord do?
Slew all the firstborn in the land of Egypt.
Go ahead.
Both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I sacrifice to the Lord all that openeth the matrix, being males.
Verse 16.
And it shall be for a token upon thine hand, and for frontlets between thine eyes. For by strength of hand, the Lord brought us forth out of Egypt.
So that's the token from the Lord because of what he did for us, redeeming us from the land of Egypt. So go back to Genesis, the 4th chapter. So now we're getting a little bit of understanding of why Cain brought the offering to the Lord, why Abel brought the firstlings of the cattle, right? Get a little understanding. Go ahead. We're going to get more into it. It's a lot of history. The Lord doesn't do anything for no reason. Watch this. Genesis chapter 4, read verse 4 again.
Genesis chapter 4 and verse 4. And Abel, he also brought the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering.
So God says he had respect unto Abel. Why? Why did he have respect unto Abel's offering but not Cain? Go to Numbers chapter 18. Numbers 18 and read verse 17.
Numbers chapter 18 and verse 17. But the firstling of a cow, or the firstling of a sheep, or the firstling of a goat, thou shalt not redeem. They are holy. Thou shalt sprinkle their blood upon the altar, and shalt burn their fat for an offering made by fire, for a sweet savor unto the Lord.
So it said sheep, the firstling of sheep, goat, or cow, sheep, or goat. It didn't say fruit. Remember, Cain brought fruit. Abel brought cattle. So the Lord never told Cain to bring that offering to him. But Abel brought the correct one. So God had respect to Abel because he had he listened, he obeyed what the Lord commanded. Go back. So getting the understanding. Watch this. It's going. It's building. Watch this. Come on.
Genesis chapter 4 and verse 5. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen?
Go ahead.
If thou doest well, thou shalt thou not be accepted. And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door.
So the doeth well is listen to what God commanded, like Abel did, right? So that's one of the first accounts, historic accounts that we'll read about someone bringing an offering to the Lord was Cain and Abel, right? So through a process of time, through Cain and Abel, we had the sons of God, right? That was Israel before we became a nation. And then after that, the blessing went to our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And then from Jacob was the birth of the 12 tribes of Israel, his 12 sons, right? And where we was birthed as a nation was in Egypt, right? So that's what we're going to get into. Go to Exodus chapter 24 and read verse 18. Exodus, the 24th chapter, and the 18th verse. Read that.
Exodus chapter 24 and verse 18.
So now we're in Egypt with Moses. Go ahead.
And Moses went into the midst of the cloud and gat him up into the mount. And Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights.
Read verse 25 and 1.
Chapter 25 and verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they bring me an offering of every man that giveth it willingly with his heart. Ye shall take my offering.
So God now is in Egypt with Moses in Mount Sinai, and he's re-giving the laws back to Israel because we've been in bondage in the Egyptian Empire for over 400 years, and we've done lost connection with God. We forgot all about his laws. We've been indoctrinated with Egyptian customs, and we've been following Egyptian ways, right? So now God has to re-give the law back to us. Read verse 3.
Verse 3. And this is the offering which ye shall take of them: gold and silver and brass, and blue and purple and scarlet, and fine linen, and goat's hair, and ram skins dyed red, and badger skins, and shittim wood, oil for the light, spices for anointing oil, and for sweet incense, onyx stones, and stones to be set in the ephod.
So this is the offering that the Lord wants to bring to him. Now we're going to get to what these items are for. Read on.
And in the breastplate, and let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them, according to all that I show thee, after the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all the instruments thereof. Even so shall he make it. And they shall make an ark of shittim wood. 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and 1 cubit and a half the breadth thereof, and 1 cubit and a half the height thereof. Thou shalt overlay it with pure gold. Within and without shalt thou overlay it, and shalt make upon it a crown of gold round about.
What verse you at?
Verse 11.
Read verse 9 again.
Verse 9. According to all that I show thee, after the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all the instruments thereof, even so shall ye make it.
So all the instruments that God was asking for was for the tabernacle, right? So he gave us a tabernacle. Jump down to verse 31.
Verse 31. And thou shalt make a candlestick of pure gold. Of beaten work shall the candlestick be made. His shaft and his branches, his bowls, his knops and his flowers shall be of the same. And 6 branches shall come.
Pull up the image I got of the tabernacle. Read on.
And 6 branches shall come out of the sides of it. 3 branches of the candlestick out of the one side, and and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side.
So that is a 7-stick menorah. 7-stick menorah. So the tabernacle, as you can see, the tabernacle was a tent-shaped building that he had in the center of the camp. That was the tabernacle. Drop that. Give me the menorah, because a lot of times what we see in society today, the IUIC people who think that they'll have a 9-stick candle menorah, right? It's not biblical. Give me the 7 one. That's it. It said, leave that up there. Read verse 32 again.
And 6 branches shall come out of the sides of it.
It says 6 branches shall come out the side. So that's the sides. You see the 3 on the right, and then you see the 3 on the left. That's 6. And then you have the 1 branch that stays in the middle. That makes a total of 7. Go ahead.
3 branches out of the candlestick of the one side, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side.
That's 6. Jump down to, you could drop that, 27 and read verse 1.
Exodus chapter 27 and verse 1. And thou shalt make an altar of shittim wood, 5 cubits long, and 5 cubits broad. The altar shall be 4 square, and the height thereof shall be 3 cubits. And thou shalt make the horns of it upon the 4 corners thereof. His horn shall be of the same, and thou shalt overlay it with brass.
Okay.
And thou shalt
verse 3.
Verse 3. And thou shalt make his pans to receive his ashes, and his shovels, and his basins, and his flesh hooks, and his fire pans. All the vessels thereof thou shalt make of brass.
So in the camp next to the tabernacle, we had God put the candlesticks in the tabernacle, and he also put the altar. Give me the altar. That's the altar right there. If you see, look at the bottom picture, you see where it said the horns on the 4 corners, and then the brass that goes around about the altar. Give me the one with the fish hooks. It said in verse 3, the shovels, the brass, the fish hooks, and the frying pan. Give me the other. Oh, right there. There you go. Frying pan, fish hooks, etc. All right. So all these were the things that were being set up with Moses. I'm gonna get to why. Give me Exodus 28 and read verse 1.
Exodus chapter 28 and verse 1. And take thou unto thee Aaron thy brother, and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office, even Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar, Aaron's sons. And thou shalt make holy garments for Aaron thy brother for glory and for beauty. Thou shalt speak unto all that are wise-hearted, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they may make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office.
So God set up the sons of Aaron, which was the brothers from Levi, the Levitical priesthood, and he gave them holy garments. Give me Aaron's garments. With the ephah, the Purim, Aaron's garments. Right there. All right. The linen, the ephah, the shoulder straps, the stones. All right, that's Aaron's garment. Jump to Exodus 28. I know we're moving through this. When y'all get time, y'all go back and read it yourselves. But it's a point. Jump to verse 42, because I wanted to put that picture back up. Because I know a lot of times people, when they read the Bible, especially for you brothers that are not familiar with the Israelites, y'all see and be like, oh, well, we was wearing dresses and stuff like that. A lot of times when we tell sisters to wear pants. I mean, not to wear pants. Jump to verse 42.
Verse 42. And thou shalt make them linen breeches to cover their nakedness.
Breeches is pants. Go ahead.
From the loins even unto the thighs they shall reach. And they shall be upon Aaron and upon his sons.
No, upon his sisters.
And upon his sons.
His daughters.
His sons.
God says he made breeches, which is pants, for Aaron and his sons, men, boys. Go ahead.
When they come in unto the tabernacle of the congregation, or when they come near unto the altar to minister in the holy place, that they bear not iniquity and die. It shall be a statute forever unto him and his seed after him.
So I know you see in the picture, it looks like a dress, because we learned that custom in Egypt. When the priests or they went to minister and they walked up steps, they were showing their nakedness. So God instituted pants. God said we should be wearing pants because that whole dress thing came from Egypt. It didn't come from us, right? Go to Leviticus chapter 4. I'm going to get to the point now. Leviticus 4 and read verse 1.
Leviticus chapter 4 and verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a soul shall sin through ignorance against any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which ought not to be done,
go ahead,
and shall do against any of them, if the priest that is anointed do sin according to the sin of the people, then let him bring for his sin, which he hath sinned, a young bullock without blemish unto the Lord for a sin offering.
So give me what sin is for the new people. God says, if a soul shall sin through ignorance, or if a priest sins, give me what sin is.
Read yes, sir. The book of 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4.
Go ahead.
Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law.
So sin is the transgression of the law. So God says whoever breaks the law through ignorance, or if a priest breaks the law, go ahead.
For sin is the transgression of the law.
That's breaking the law. Go back to Leviticus 4. Read verse 3 again.
Leviticus chapter 4 and verse 3. If the priest that is anointed do sin according to the sin of the people,
break the law, go ahead,
then let him bring for his sin, which he hath sinned, a young bullock without blemish unto the Lord for a sin offering.
That's an offering, a sacrifice. Go ahead, read verse 4.
And he shall bring the bullock unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord, and shall lay his hand upon the bullock's head, and kill the bullock before the Lord. And
kill it, go ahead.
And the priest that is anointed shall take of the bullock's blood, and bring it to the tabernacle of the congregation.
So you had this, you was able to, God also, while giving us the tabernacle giving us the Levitical priesthood, giving us the altar, right? God also gave us sacrifice. God gave us sacrifice through Levi, through the priests. Go to Leviticus chapter 5, read verse 4.
Leviticus chapter 5 and verse 4. Or if a soul swear, pronouncing with his lips to do evil or to do good, whatsoever it be that a man shall pronounce with an oath, and it be hid from him, when he knoweth of it, then he shall be guilty in one of these.
Go ahead.
And it shall be, when he shall be guilty in one of these things, that he shall confess that he hath sinned in that thing. And he shall bring his trespass offering unto the Lord for his sin.
His trespass what?
Offering unto the Lord for his sin,
Go
which
ahead.
he hath sinned.
Read.
A female from the flock, a lamb or a kid of the goats, for a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him concerning his sin.
Jump down to verse 9.
And he shall sprinkle of the blood of the sin offering upon the side of the altar, and the rest of the blood shall be wrung out at the bottom of the altar. It is a sin offering.
So God gave us a way to atone for our sins. When we broke the law, God says you have to bring that turtle dove, you have to bring that ox, you have to bring that cow to atone for those sins. Blood had to be spilled for that, right? Go to Exodus chapter 29. Exodus chapter 29, and it was through the Levitical priesthood, which he set up with Moses and Aaron and his sons, tribe of Levi. Watch this. They was the mediator. Read Exodus 29 and 42, sorry. Exodus chapter 29. Let me get there. I want to look at it. 29 and 42.
Exodus chapter 29 and verse 42. This shall be a continual burnt offering throughout your generations at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord, where I will meet you to speak there unto thee.
Go ahead.
And there I will
So the tabernacle that we read about earlier, God says that's the meeting place. That's where he meets with us to speak to us. Go ahead.
And there I will meet with the children of Israel, and the tabernacle shall be sanctified by my glory. And I will sanctify the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar. I will sanctify also both Aaron and his sons to minister to me in the priest's office. And I will dwell among the children of Israel and will be their God. And they shall know that I am the Lord their God that brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, that I may dwell among them. I am the Lord their God.
So God sanctified the tabernacle, the sons of Aaron, the priests, to be a mediator between him and us. Watch this. Go to Deuteronomy 5 and read verse 22. This is the historic event. This is why Moses had to be a mediator.
Deuteronomy chapter 5 and verse 22. These words the Lord spake unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness, with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. And it came to pass, when ye heard the voice out of the midst of the darkness, for the mountain did burn with fire, that ye came near unto me, even all the heads of your tribes and your elders.
So this is Exodus, I believe it's Exodus 20, after we received the commandments, the 10 commandments from the Lord, when he spoke those 10 commandments. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, when ye heard the voice out of the midst of the darkness, for the mountain did burn with fire, that ye came near unto me, even all the heads of your tribes and your elders.
Go ahead.
And he said, Behold, the Lord our God hath showed us his glory and his greatness. And we have heard his voice out of the midst of the fire.
Those 10 commandments. Go ahead.
We have seen this day that God doth talk with man, and he liveth. Now therefore, why should we die? For this great fire will consume us.
Remember, so because when we read in Exodus the 20th chapter, the people was afraid when the Lord spoke. It was thunder and trumpets, and it sounded like they was about to die when the Lord spoke. That's what they were saying. Go ahead.
If we hear the voice of the Lord our God any more, then we shall die. For who is there of all flesh that hath heard the voice of the living God speaking out of the midst of the fire, as we have, and lived?
Go ahead.
Go thou near and hear all that the Lord our God shall say, and speak thou unto us all that the Lord our God shall speak unto thee.
So the people said, told Moses to go speak to the Lord. That's what the people told Moses to do. Go ahead, read.
And we will hear it and do it. And the Lord heard the voice of your words when ye spake unto me. And the Lord said unto me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto thee. They have well said all that they have spoken. Oh, that there were such an heart in them, that they would fear me and keep all my commandments always,
Read,
that it might be well with them.
Read verse 31.
Verse 31. But as for thee, stand thou here by me, and I will speak unto thee all the commandments and the statutes and the judgments, which thou shalt teach them.
Hold on, it says, so the Lord said that he was going to speak all his commandments and his statutes and his judgments to Moses. And he told Moses to do what? Read it again.
But as for thee, stand thou here by me, and I will speak unto thee all the commandments and the statutes and the judgments,
Go ahead.
which thou shalt teach them.
Thou shalt teach them. So it was Moses' job to teach us the commandments. It was the priest's job to teach us the commandments, which Moses is from the tribe of Levi. Go ahead.
That they may do them in the land which I give them to possess it. You shall observe to do, therefore, as the Lord your God hath commanded you.
Go to Galatians chapter 3, read verse 19. Galatians chapter 3 and read verse 19. This is what that means. Which thou shalt teach them that which the Lord had told thee. The commandments, the statutes, and judgments. This is what God told Moses.
Galatians chapter 3 and verse 19.
Read that.
Wherefore then serveth the law? It was added because of transgressions.
The law of sacrifice, that's what we was reading. God added that where when you transgressed, you broke God's commandments, you were able to go sacrifice an animal, spill the animal's blood. That law, read it again.
Wherefore then serveth the law? It was added because of transgressions.
Remember, we read that sin was the transgression of the law. So God added that law because of your transgressions. Go ahead.
Till the seed should come to whom the promise was made.
And it was till the seed was come to the promise that was made. Go ahead.
And it was ordained by angels in the hand of a mediator.
And it was ordained in the hand of a mediator, Moses. Moses was the mediator of that law, the sacrificial law. Now, that sacrificial law, it had to end, right? Go to Exodus 24. We're going to go into the difference between that mediator and the new mediator. Exodus 24, read verse 6.
Exodus chapter 24 and verse 6.
Remember, we're going from are you sacrificing then till now, right? We're working our way up. Read that. Exodus 24, read verse 6.
Exodus chapter 24 and verse 6. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people. And they said, all that the Lord hath said will we do, and be obedient. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words.
So the covenant that Moses had, the reason why those transgressions blood had to be spilled, right, is because there was a blood covenant. Read it again. Watch this.
And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold, the blood.
Hold on. Read. I want to read up a little. Read from verse 6.
Verse 6. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar.
Go ahead.
And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people. And they said, all that the Lord hath said will we do.
So we agreed to do what the Lord commanded us to do. Do one, when God spoke the 10 commandments himself. And then two, when we was too afraid to hear the Lord, and God set up a mediator, Moses. He went to Moses, told Moses the commandments. Moses told us the commandments, and we said, all that you command us, we agree we will do. Go ahead. Watch this. Read on.
Then went up Moses and Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu.
Hold on. Where you at? Read verse 7 again.
Verse 7. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people. And they said, all that the Lord hath said will we do.
We will do. Go ahead.
And be obedient.
Obey. Read verse 8.
And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, Behold, the blood of the covenant, which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words.
So that was the blood of the covenant that the Lord confirmed with us through his words. Say, y'all gonna do this. And remember, under that covenant, there were certain things that we agreed if we did, we was getting put to death because there wasn't no sacrifice for it. We was just gonna have to chalk it up. Watch this. Why the blood? Leviticus chapter 17, read verse 11. We don't understand that we made a blood covenant with the Lord.
Leviticus chapter 17 and verse 11.
Read
For
that.
the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I've given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls.
See, so the blood was an atonement. The blood of bulls and of goats, that was an atonement. Hebrews chapter 9, read verse 22. Y'all play around with it if y'all want to. Hebrews 9 and read verse 22.
Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 22. And almost all things are by the blood purged with blood.
Mm-hmm.
And without shedding of blood is no remission.
So God says there is no, without the blood, without the shedding of blood, there is no remission. You can't be forgiven for your sins without the shedding of blood. That's what you made. You made a blood covenant. Hold that. Matthew 26 and 28. Matthew chapter 26 and read verse 28.
Matthew chapter 26 and verse 28.
Let me get there with you. Matthew 26. Go ahead, read it.
Matthew chapter 26 and verse 28. For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins.
See that? Blood is the remission of sins. So from Moses making a blood covenant through animal sacrifice all the way to Christ, that blood is still required. Somebody still had to give that sacrifice. You understand? Watch this. Go to and we're gonna bring that up. Who had to give that sacrifice? Go to Hebrews, the 9th chapter, and read the 11th verse. He made that sacrifice, but y'all don't understand the cost of that sacrifice. Y'all gonna understand it soon. Watch this. Hebrews 9 and read verse 11.
Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 11. But Christ, being come an high priest of good things to come, by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood, he entered in once into the holy place.
That holy tabernacle, bring the tabernacle back up. This was the tabernacle in the wilderness that was made with hands. But this tabernacle he's referring to is one that was not made with hands. Go ahead, read it again.
Neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood, he entered in once into the holy place.
So not by the covenant that we made with Moses, not that mediation, but Christ, that mediation being changed to Christ, but him spilling his own blood. Go ahead.
Having obtained eternal redemption for us. For if the blood of bulls and of goats and the ashes of an heifer.
Eternal redemption, meaning you don't have to spill any more blood. You don't have to make any more sacrifices. Go ahead.
Sprinkling the unclean, sanctifieth to the purifying of the flesh. How much more shall the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to God, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living God?
The dead works is sacrifice. Jump over to verse chapter 10 and read verse 5.
Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 5. Wherefore, when he cometh into the world, he saith, Sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not, but a body hast thou prepared me. In burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin, thou hast had no pleasure.
Remember, so that sacrifice that we've gained, that was given to Moses and the priests, the sons of Aaron, God says in verse 6, the burnt offering and sacrifices for sin thou hast had no pleasure. Why? Because we abused it. We abused it. We had our sacrifices ready for our sins. We tucked away sacrifices, getting already prepared to sacrifice those sacrifices after we done commit the sin. Watch this. Jump down to read verse 10.
Verse 10. By the which will we are sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ, once for all.
One sacrifice, go ahead.
And every priest standeth daily ministering and offering oftentimes the same sacrifices, which can never take away sins.
Because those sacrifices never taught us to keep God's commandments. Go ahead.
But this man, after he had offered one sacrifice for sins forever, sat down on the right hand of God, from henceforth expecting till his enemies be made his footstool.
So that's the price that Christ paid. He paid his life for us, the body. One sacrifice. Go to Acts 3 and read verse 20. Acts chapter 3 and read verse 20.
The book of Acts chapter 3 and verse 20. And he shall send Jesus Christ, which before was preached unto you, whom the heaven must receive until the times of restitution of all things, which God hath spoken by the mouth of all his holy prophets since the world began. For Moses truly said unto the fathers.
Yeah, verse 22, go ahead.
A prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear in all things.
It says, so Moses said that a prophet was going to be risen up to you from your brethren, like me. From him shall you hear, verse 23.
And it shall come to pass that every soul which will not hear that prophet shall be destroyed from among all people.
That's how you don't know, because a lot of times what Christians say is the God in the Old Testament, man, he was killing and destroying, and I was afraid of that God in the Old Testament. Christians say that, but they don't know how much more the God of the New Testament, which is the same God, it's no different God, but how much more deadly the New Testament is. The price, the wage that you have to pay for the New Testament compared to the first mediator, which was Moses. You don't understand the rigor that you have, the task that you have under Christ. But we're gonna see if we can get you to understand it a little bit tonight. Go to Deuteronomy 18. This is where this was quoted. Acts chapter 3 and 22. The prophet that was risen from my brethren. Deuteronomy 18 and read verse, I think it's 15.
Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 15. The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me, unto him ye shall hearken. According to all that thou desirest of the Lord thy God in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying.
No, I just wanted 15. Read 15 again.
Verse 15. The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. Unto him ye shall hearken.
So just as Moses was the mediator of animal sacrifice, Christ now the how would I say the throne or the scepter or the mediation has changed to Christ. Christ has taken over that mediation once he laid down and paid the price. Go 1 Corinthians, read 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and 20. Y'all don't understand that mediation, that price now has been paid, and now you are in debt. Who are you in debt to? You are a debtor to Christ. Watch this. Read that. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and read verse 20.
1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 20. For ye are bought with a price.
You are what?
Bought with a price.
The price was his life. Christ paid his life. He was that sacrifice, that perfect, that sacrifice without blemish, without a spot. Go ahead.
Therefore glorify God in your body.
And God says, now you have, it might sound like a suggestion. It wasn't. Now it's your obligation. It's your just due to glorify God in your body. Because even, I'm going to show you, even when, remember when we read back in Deuteronomy, Exodus, where was it Exodus? When it says, let the blood be upon us, they sprinkled the blood. Go back to there. I'm going to show you something. Deuteronomy, or was it in Exodus? Exodus 24. Yes, sir. 24 and read verse 7.
Exodus chapter 24 and verse 7. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, all that the Lord hath said will we do.
We agreed to do everything the Lord said. Go ahead.
And be obedient. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words.
So Moses sprinkled the blood to confirm the covenant that we agreed to keep. Right? Remember, Moses was the mediator of animal sacrifice. Now watch this. I'm going to show you the transition with Christ. Go to Matthew 27. That's where it is. Matthew 27. Let me get there. With Pilate. Matthew 27. Reverse. Yep. Reverse 23.
Matthew chapter 27 and verse 23. And the governor said,
reverse 22.
Verse 22. Pilate saith unto them, what shall I do then with Jesus, which is called Christ?
Mm-hmm.
They all say unto him, let him be crucified.
So all the people, well, not all the Jews, but the Pharisees wanted Christ crucified. They said, crucify him. Go ahead.
And the governor said, why? What evil hath he done? But they cried out the more, saying, let him be crucified.
Crucify Christ. But the white man was saying, why y'all want to kill him? What did he do? Man, watch this. Go ahead.
When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his...
They ganged up in a mob against the white man. They said, why don't you want to kill this Negro? They ganged up on him when he's supposed to be the ultimate evil upon the earth. Go ahead.
He took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying...
You know that gif that when you be on Telegram and you just put soap and water and you wash your hands? He said, I'm washing my hands with this. Go ahead.
Before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person.
He said, he called Jesus Christ, the white man called Jesus Christ just. He said, I don't got nothing to do with this. You Negroes, if y'all gonna put him to death, if y'all gonna crucify him, that's on y'all. Watch this. Read verse 25.
Verse 25. Then answered all the people and said, his blood be on us and on our children.
Damn. Just like Moses sprinkled the blood of the covenant on the people in the wilderness. We said, we agree, yeah, let his blood be upon us. The blood. Okay, all right. Watch this. So now we agreed to take the blood of Christ upon ourselves, right? All right. Give me Romans chapter 12 and verse 11. Remember, Christ was the perfect sacrifice. Christ was the perfect sacrifice. And we agreed to take his blood upon our hands. But we don't even know what the hell does that mean. Romans chapter 12, read verse 11.
Romans chapter 12 and verse 11. Not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord.
I said 11. I mean 1. Sorry.
Romans chapter 12 and verse 1.
Yeah, 12 and 1.
I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice.
A what?
Living sacrifice.
Hold on. So now Paul said through his spirit, you say you got to present your body a living sacrifice. Wasn't Christ a sacrifice? Okay. All right. So we're going to dive into what Paul is saying. Present your body a living sacrifice. Now, I want you to write this down. Paul, when he says a living sacrifice, he's referring to 3 things. 1, a spiritual sacrifice. Let's get that. Colossians chapter 3 and read verse 1. Paul's talking about three things. First, we're going to touch is the spiritual sacrifice. Present your bodies a living sacrifice. Because you took Christ's blood upon you. You said, let his blood be upon our hands. Watch this. Colossians, read that.
Colossians chapter 3 and verse 1. If ye then be risen with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ sitteth on the right hand of God. Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth.
So set your affection on heavenly things, not on carnal things. That's what it's saying. Go ahead.
For ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God.
So your old man should die with Christ. When Christ was crucified, your old man should have been crucified as well, meaning your old ways. Go ahead.
For ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God. When Christ, who is our life, shall appear, then shall ye also appear with him in glory.
When Christ resurrects, when he comes back, you should also gain that same resurrection. If you kill off the old man, go ahead.
Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry. For which things sake the wrath of God cometh on the children of disobedience, in the time which ye also walked sometime when ye lived in them.
So going into mortifying yourself, or give me the definition just so we can understand what mortify means. Say mortify, and then it gave you some sins to mortify: covetousness, fornication, etc. Give me the definition. Mortify. Yeah. Read number 2.
Definition of mortify, number 2. Subdue the body or its needs and desires by self-denial or discipline.
Go to Merriam. Subdue is a good one. Hold on. Right there. Read 1 and 2.
Number 1. To subject to severe and vexing embarrassment, shame. Number 2. To subdue or deaden the body, bodily appetites, etc., especially by abstinence or self-inflicted pain or discomfort.
So to subdue or deaden. That's what the deaden. So going back in Colossians 3 and 5, when it says, mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, covetousness, which is idolatry. Those are the things that you are supposed to deaden inside yourself. That's how it says in the beginning, where it says, set your affection on things above, for ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God. When you deaden those things, that's how you deaden the old man that's inside of you, right? Go to Matthew 7. Still talking about spiritual sacrifice. That's what Paul was talking about in Romans 12. Present your bodies a living sacrifice. Matthew 7 and read verse 24.
Matthew chapter 7 and verse 24. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock.
It says, a wise man, if therefore whosoever hear these sayings of mine and doeth them, he is a wise man that builds his house on a rock. Give me the rock. That's Christ. 1 Corinthians 10 and read verse 4. The rock. The wise man that built his house on a rock.
1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 4. And did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them. And that rock was Christ.
That's the rock. That's the rock. If you listen to God, you build your house upon a rock. You build it on Christ. Go back. Read verse 25.
Verse 25. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house.
You're the house. It says so, and the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon the house. Give me the winds. Ephesians 4, read verse 14. This is what the winds are that beat upon the house, beat upon you.
Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 14, that we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind.
What, every what?
With every wind.
Go ahead.
Of doctrine.
Doctrines, infirmity, sins, Egyptology, Christianity, Seventh-day Adventists, Christmas, birthdays. All those things beat upon your house in society today. Social media could be a god, could be a doctrine for you. Give me the other one, Revelations 12 and 15. Revelations chapter 12 and read verse 15.
Revelation chapter 12 and verse 15. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman.
What did the serpent cast out?
Water as a flood after the woman.
That's we talk about the serpent in Revelations. The water is doctrine. Go ahead.
That he might cause her to be carried away of the flood.
You see that? So go back. Matthew 7, read verse 25 again.
Matthew chapter 7 and verse 25. And the rain descended and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock.
So you, being your spiritual sacrifice, when you build yourself up, I'm going to prove it. I'll just get the house. 1 Peter chapter 2, read verse 5. Show it. It's talking about yourself. When you build yourself up in Christ, that sacrifice is sturdy. You're strong. Doctrines, your family, bringing that whole Christmas, the birthdays. Oh, but I love you, baby. All this social media, all of that stuff can beat you down. You can stand up against it. Watch this.
1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 25. For ye were as sheep going astray, but are now returned unto the shepherd and bishop of your souls.
Go ahead. That's 1 Peter 2 and 5.
1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 5. Ye also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house.
What type of house?
A spiritual house.
Go ahead.
And holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices.
Spiritual what?
Spiritual sacrifices.
Go ahead.
Acceptable to God by Jesus Christ.
So that is your spiritual sacrifice that Paul was referring to. Go back to Romans 12, read verse 1 again. Romans chapter 12, read verse 1.
Romans chapter 12 and verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service.
So that is your reasonable, because remember, we took upon, remember, scripture say, they said, let his blood be upon us, right? Matter of fact, this is the mockery. Give me the mockery. How they said, let their blood. Give me first Benji, this is how they mock God. When we said it, he said, let his blood be upon us. Because read that, play that. Watch this.
Not just rap because say under the blood, me say me under the blood.
This is the come on, we're not on Levi. We in Christ. We in Christ right now.
Under the blood, me say me under the blood. Jesus cover me under the blood.
This is
under
what's going on in
me
your
say
church.
me under the blood. Jesus, you will cover me under the blood. In the morning when me wake up, and the blood that Jesus me take up. And when me feel like me, I go break up. Put the blood on me face just like a makeup. Christian I fight some things where them not see. Try hold demons and principality. Me body at the temple, keep it holy. Sanctify, justify, give God the glory.
All right, drop it,
Fighting
man,
against
I know y'all
street
over
of
there
the enemy.
Y'all over there bopping, man. Y'all like Benji getting it in. Y'all talk about he trying to get him on the next Benjavites. The hell is this? You see what I'm saying? The Christian church, they mock Christ. Go, give me the other one. Give me Lil Nas X. Y'all remember when he did this? The breaking of the bread. The breaking of the bread. They mock him. See this? Yeah. Give me that in 1 Corinthians 11. Breaking the bread. They mock. Not understanding that they said, let his blood be upon us. 1 Corinthians 11. Come on, man. You should know what I want.
1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 24. And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, take, eat. This is my body, which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me.
Go ahead.
After the same manner also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, this cup is the New Testament in my blood.
In my what?
In my blood.
That same blood, they said, let his blood be upon us. Go ahead.
This do ye as oft as ye drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as ye eat this bread and drink this cup, ye do show the Lord's death till he come.
You do what?
Show the Lord's death till he come.
You show the price that he paid. The price that he paid. This is how serious it is. Watch this. Read.
Wherefore, whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Lord unworthily.
On what?
Unworthily.
On what?
Unworthily.
Read.
Shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord.
That's what our people are falling in. They don't understand how serious it is. How serious it is to fall in that type of detriment. Watch this. Go to hold on. Give me that in Hebrews. I'm pulling this from the hip. I can go off. I got a little time, right? How much time I got? I don't know. Give me Hebrews 10 and read verse 28. I got some time, right? I'll make time.
Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 28. He that despised Moses' law died without mercy.
Under Moses, they thought Moses was harsh because there were certain laws that if you committed adultery, you just got put to death. You understand? There was no sacrifice for you. You broke the Sabbath, you got put to death. You bestiality, homosexuality, you got put to death. Watch this, read.
Died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses.
In Deuteronomy, go ahead.
Of how much sorer punishment, suppose ye, shall he be thought worthy, who hath trodden under foot the Son of God.
God says the punishment is worse under Christ. That's what he's saying. But present ye, go back to Romans 12. I don't want to mess it up. Romans 12 and 1.
Romans chapter 12
Let his blood be upon us, right? Go ahead, watch this.
Romans chapter 12 and verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice.
So now you are the sacrifice. You are the sacrifice. We already touched one what Paul was referring to. Because remember, it's double. Give me that. I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna prove it. Because a lot of people think, oh, how did he get this whole Paul was going into 3 different aspects of when he was talking about present your body. Give me that in Job 11, read verse 6. I'll show you. I'm gonna show you how I understand that Paul was referring to more than just one thing when he was talking about sacrifice.
Job chapter 11 and verse 6. And that he would show the secrets of wisdom, that they are double.
That they are what?
Double to that which is.
God says they double. They double. They have double meanings, right? Double meanings. Psalms 78, read verse 2.
Psalm chapter 78 and verse 2. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old.
See, parables and dark sayings. I mean, it has multiple meanings. So we covered Paul was referring to a spiritual sacrifice, right? Good. Now, the second one is a worldly sacrifice. Worldly sacrifice. Go to Sirach 38. This is the worldly sacrifice. Sirach 38. Let me get there. And read. Read 25.
Sirach chapter 38 and verse 25.
No, hold on. Read 23.
Verse 23. For when the dead is at rest.
Sorry, 24. My bad. Read 24.
Yes, sir. Verse 24.
Yeah.
The wisdom of a learned man cometh by opportunity of leisure.
So God says in order for wisdom to come upon you, you need leisure time. You need time. Go ahead.
And he that hath little business shall become wise.
So for you brothers that question, you struggle with remembering precepts, you struggle with remembering history, you struggle with remembering dates. How do you teach like that? You know, you ask these brothers, that the street teachers, the camp leaders, oh, how do you teach like that? How do you expound upon the word? God's giving you the understanding right there. Wisdom come to you that have leisure time and little business. Remember, the scriptures say, seek ye first the kingdom of the Lord, and all else shall be added. All right. So you have to set your priorities if that's what you want, wisdom. Read verse 25.
How can he get wisdom that holdeth the plow, and that glorieth in the goad, that driveth oxen, and is occupied in their labors?
So it says, how can you get wisdom if you're always working? That's what it's talking about. Jump down to verse 31.
Verse 31. All these trust to their hands, and everyone is wise in his work. Without these cannot a city be inhabited, and they shall not dwell where they will.
Go ahead.
Nor go up and down. They shall not be sought for.
The cities need people to work in order for it to be inhabited. Go ahead. Verse 33.
They shall not be sought for in public council, nor sit high in the congregation. They shall not sit on the judge's seat, nor understand the sentence of judgment. They cannot declare justice and judgment, and they shall not be found where parables are spoken.
So those that only maintain their work, they have no opportunity for wisdom. They have no leisure time for study. God says those men can't sit in council seats. Those men don't understand judgment. Go ahead, read verse 34.
Verse 34. But they will maintain the state of the world, and all their desire is in the work of their craft.
So the worldly sacrifices, you might have to sacrifice some work. You might have to sacrifice some time. You understand? You have to give time to build your spirit. You got to sacrifice that in order, if you seek wisdom, that is, right? Go to 2nd Ezra 16. Read verse 72.
2nd Ezra chapter 16 and verse 72. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known.
Y'all didn't even tell me. It's 10:02, man. I'm way past. Let me rush through. Let me move faster. Read that.
For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen.
So goods, God says your goods are going to be wasted. You understand? You're going to have to sacrifice some goods. You might have spent a whole bunch of time building up your house. You got good credit. You got a good job. God said you're going to have to sacrifice some of that stuff. Some of those goods, if you're going to preach the word of God, a lot of things you're going to lose. Watch this. Go to Tobit. Tobit went through it. Tobit 1, read verse 19.
Tobit chapter 1 verse 19.
When he was in the Assyrian captivity. This was under Sennacherib, King Sennacherib. Read that.
And when one of the Ninevites went and complained of me to the king, that I buried them and hid myself, understanding that I was sought for to be put to death, I withdrew myself for fear.
Then Sennacherib was going around and he was burying the prophets. I mean, not Sennacherib, sorry. Tobit was going around burying the prophets that King Sennacherib put to death. And in a process of him doing that, looking out for his brethren, they wanted to kill him. Go ahead.
Then all my goods were forcibly taken away.
What happened to Tobit's goods?
All my goods were forcibly taken away.
So you see what happens when you stand for the Lord? God says you might have to sacrifice some goods, man. You're going to lose some things. That's the worldly sacrifice, right? Now, I'm almost done. We got a couple more scriptures. I see my time. The bodily sacrifice. Remember the three things Paul was talking about: spiritual sacrifice, worldly sacrifice, now bodily sacrifice. This is the sacrifice. Let his blood be upon our hands, right? That's what we said. Go back to Romans 12, read verse 1 again.
Romans chapter 12 and verse 1.
Oh, we didn't show the mockery. I showed the other thing. I don't need it. Don't worry about it. Read that. Where I'm at? Romans 12. Read verse 1.
Romans chapter 12 and verse 1.
I don't need it.
I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice.
A living sacrifice. So bodily sacrifice. Go to Revelation 6. Read verse 10.
Revelation chapter 6 and verse 10. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, do thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth?
Avenged our blood. Those were those that were killed for standing for the word of God. They were killed in this truth. They cried to the Lord to avenge their blood. Read verse 11.
And white robes were given unto every one of them. And it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed.
Should be what?
Should be killed.
Should be what?
Killed.
Bodily sacrifice.
As they were, should be fulfilled.
See that? So some of us gonna have to drink of that same cup, man. Christ sacrificed himself. You ask for that same cup. You ask for that blood to be upon you. You got to present your body a living sacrifice. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, read verse 6. You got to do it.
2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 6. Therefore, we are always confident, knowing that whilst we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Lord.
So while we are home in the body, you are in your fleshly body. You are what from the Lord?
Absent from the Lord.
You are absent from the Lord. You're not with the Lord. Watch this. Go ahead.
For we walk by faith, not by sight. We are confident, I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body and to be present.
Hold on. Read verse 8 and read it again slowly.
Verse 8. We are confident, I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body.
To be absent from the body. To be absent from the body means to be dead. Meaning your spirit is not in your body. Read.
And to be present with the Lord.
When you are absent from your body, when you are dead, God says you are present with him. You understand that? So some of you are going to have to die to be transformed. Deacon Malachi explained this a couple Sabbaths ago. I think it was the last Sabbath or the Sabbath before. It might be the Sabbath before. He brought this out. You got to be absent. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. Read it again.
We are confident, I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body and to be present with the Lord.
Watch this. Read on.
Wherefore we labor.
No. Read verse 9.
Verse 9.
Sorry. Wherefore we labor. Go ahead. I was looking at something else. Read it again.
Wherefore we labor, that whether present or absent, we may be accepted of him.
So whether be present in the body or absent from the body, you got to be accepted of him. You see that? You're going to be accepted. So whether you live or you die, whether you still living when Christ returned or you die and be with your brethren, it's acceptable. It's acceptable. Give me my last one. 1 Peter chapter 4. I see on my time. 1 Peter 4, and read verse 1.
1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 1. For as much then as Christ hath suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind.
Do what?
Arm yourselves likewise with the same mind.
With what same mind? As Christ had suffered for us in the flesh. You have to arm yourself with that same mind. You understand that? Read on.
For he that hath suffered in the flesh hath ceased from sin, that he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lusts of men, but to the will of God.
See that? So for he that had suffered in the flesh had ceased from sin. So that's what we said. Let his blood be upon us. Now you have to present your body a living sacrifice. And with that, I say shalom.
Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. I want you to know that you can view all our Sabbath classes live on IUIC TV. That's right, I said on IUIC TV. Download the app today. Shalom. What is the nation?
Nation is men leading by example. Nation is community. Nation is children with role